Welcome to The Explainer. We all talk about having a broken heart, but what if I told you it's a real, actual medical condition? Today, we're going to dive into the science behind this powerful idea, all thanks to a wild study from 2005 that shows how our emotions can literally stun our hearts. We've all heard these phrases, right? They're just part of how we talk, ways to describe really intense fear or sadness. But are they just metaphors? Or is there something more to it? Well, that exact question is what a team at Johns Hopkins University wanted to figure out. And they stumbled onto this incredible medical mystery right in their own emergency rooms. And what they found was absolutely astonishing. Okay, so let's set the scene. Imagine someone is rushed into the ER, they're having trouble breathing, they've got this crushing chest pain. You look at the heart monitor, it's going absolutely wild. I mean, every single sign is screaming massive heart attack. It's a total life or death moment. So naturally, the doctors jump into action. They run all the usual tests to find the blockage in the artery, but the first big clue they get is not what they found, but what they couldn't find. And this is where things get really weird. Okay, so with a classic heart attack, right? You have a blocked artery. It's like a clog in a pipe, cutting off blood and damaging the heart muscle. But with these patients, their arteries were wide open. Totally clear. There was literally no blockage to explain why their hearts were failing. So you can see the problem, right? The symptoms are real, the person is in real danger, but the usual culprit is just gone. It's a total puzzle. The researchers realized they had to look beyond the heart's plumbing and start looking at the patients themselves. Okay, so the investigation pivots. The team starts looking really closely at these 19 individuals, and they begin to notice some pretty striking similarities. And this is where a completely different story starts to take shape. Yeah, a really clear profile started to come together. Almost all of them were women, most of them over 60. But here's the kicker. Every single one of them had just gone through some kind of sudden, really intense emotional shock. And look, we're not talking about just having a bad day here. These were life-changing moments, total shocks to the system. The study lists things like getting news that a loved one died unexpectedly, or being in an armed robbery, a huge fight, even a surprise party. These were events that literally triggered a massive physical crisis. And the physical toll was just immense. When these patients got to the hospital, their hearts were pumping at less than half of what they should be. A healthy heart pushes out over 55% of its blood with each beat. That's the ejection fraction. Theirs, it was down to just 20%. That is serious, profound heart failure. But the strangest clue of all, the real head-scratcher, came when they took a picture of the heart itself. They saw this really unique, kind of bizarre shape. So the bottom of the heart, the base, it was squeezing like crazy, almost working overtime. But the top part, the apex, it just ballooned out. It was completely stunned, totally unable to squeeze. So this weird ballooning shape, it reminded the Japanese researchers who first spotted this of a traditional octopus trap, which is called a takosubo. It's got that narrow neck and a wide, round bottom, so the name just stuck. It's also called transient apical ballooning, but let's be honest, broken heart syndrome is way more memorable. But here's the amazing part, the really hopeful piece of this whole puzzle. This severe heart failure, it wasn't permanent. The heart's pumping function bounced back, and it did it fast and completely. Usually within just a couple of weeks, everything was back to normal. Okay, so let's recap. The arteries are clear, the damage is temporary, and it's all kicked off by a huge emotional event. So what's the mechanism here? What is actually causing this? The researchers had a hunch. They figured the answer wasn't physical, like a blockage, but chemical. They believed that emotional shockwave triggered a massive flood of chemicals inside the body. And to test this theory, they did something really smart. They took blood samples from these patients and measured their levels of stress hormones, stuff like adrenaline. Then they compared those levels to patients who were having a real, severe, blockage-caused heart attack. And the results were just jaw-dropping. The patients with this broken heart syndrome had levels of these fight or flight hormones, these catecholamines, that were 2 to 3 times higher than the patients suffering a massive, life-threatening heart attack. In some cases, the levels were off the charts, like 7 to 34 times higher than a normal person's. This was it. This was the smoking gun. That intense emotional trauma didn't block an artery. Instead, it unleashed an unbelievable flood of adrenaline and other stress hormones, a chemical tidal wave so powerful it literally stunned the heart muscle, basically paralyzing it. So this discovery completely changed how they looked at the whole condition. See, it wasn't about a part that was permanently broken. It was about a system that was just temporarily overwhelmed. And that new understanding, well, it pointed to a much, much better outcome for these patients. Right, so think of it this way. It's not a plumbing problem, like a clog in a pipe. It's more like an electrical or chemical problem. It's not that the engine is broken, it's that the engine has been flooded. And once that chemical flood starts to go down, the muscle can start working just fine again. So now, these key features help doctors in the ER figure this out super fast. When they see a patient, often an older woman, showing up with heart attack symptoms right after a huge stress, and then they see clear arteries and that classic octopus pot shape on the ultrasound, they know exactly what they're dealing with. And here's the best news of all. Even though it looks absolutely terrifying at first, the prognosis is excellent. In the 4 years the researchers followed these patients, not a single one had it happen again, and their heart function stayed totally normal. The heart wasn't truly broken. It was just stunned. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that extreme emotion can physically shut down your heart. It's not magic, it's a massive, measurable rush of adrenaline. But, and this is the important part, the damage is almost always reversible. This research really takes the idea of a broken heart out of the realm of poetry and puts it straight into the medical textbooks. It proves that the link between our minds and our bodies isn't just folklore. It's a powerful biological reality. And it really makes you wonder, right? What else don't we know about this incredible connection?